Hey guys, welcome to Quinia's Budget Crafts. Now that the town is doing pretty good, we're going to need some tiles. We'll need more tiles than we're going to make in this video, but this will get us started at least. So go ahead and grab another sheet of that EPS foam. It would be a good idea to square the edge. I didn't do that, but it's okay. We're going to start cutting these tiles at 3 inches. Now like in the other videos, you can cut this with a knife if you want to, but it's a whole lot easier with a hot wire. And then for putting the grid on them, I don't know any way to do it without the hot wire. Not on EPS anyway. There is a link in the description below to the hot wire table that I'm using here. But with hot wires, it really is a case of buy once, cry once. You should just go ahead and get a Proxxon if you can. Also get the accessories from shiftinglands.com while you're at it. On this hot wire, I just hot glued a temporary fence on there. Kinda ghetto, but it works. And here you can see that leading edge of the foam has a rounded corner on it. That's why I said trim that off. That's okay, we're going to be cutting a whole bunch of different sizes, so I'll just discard that piece later. And then just keep pushing it through the wire until you get a whole bunch of them cut. Now take your strips, turn them the other direction, and then push them through the wire again to get 3-inch squares. Just keep repeating that until you've got a big pile like this. Okay, now take a piece and measure 2 inches and use the mark on that one as your guide to adjust the fence. If you had any weird little scrap pieces, now's a good time to use those. And so now we have a whole bunch of 2x3 tiles. Now just take some of those 3x3 tiles and push them through the wire again, with the fence still set at 2 inches to make 1x3 inch strips. And now take some of those 3x2s, turn them 90 degrees, push them through again, to make a whole bunch of 2x2s and 1x2s. There's no real hard and fast rule on how many of what size you need. Also make sure you leave enough 3x3s to do some that are split. Don't do any of the squiggly cuts until you've got your grid put on there though. It's really hard to make the grid even when they're already split. So for the grid, just mark them at 1 inch all the way across, and then connect the dots. You don't actually need to connect the dots, just put a mark on there that you can reference on the hot wire. Now stand the tile up on its side and bring it towards the hot wire pretty quickly. Again, if you have a nicer hot wire like a Proxxon, you can do this as slow as you want just by turning down the temperature, but this thing has 2 temperatures, off and real hot. If you take too long to burn the grid into it, it'll burn a really wide line. Just do that twice on one edge, flip it 90 degrees and do it the other one for a 1x1, and do this on all the tiles. Continuing the grid down the side of the tile is a design choice. For me, I went ahead and decided not to do that, and I'll just paint the sides black. It's up to you if you'd like to have it down the side or not. Now, when you split some of those 3x3s into curvy pieces, stack up 3 of them at a time and cut them that way. That way you can flip them over, have opposing colors, so you can have transition zones without them being straight lines. You don't have to only do 3x3s, you can also do it on 2x2s or whatever other size you like. It would probably be a good idea to do a mix of 3x3 and 2x2. Alright, once everything's all cut out and grids cut in and all that good stuff, mix up some black paint with some Mod Podge and cover everything. Make sure to get it in all of the grids and anywhere there's any little holes in the foam. You could do this with a paint roller if you wanted to. I'm doing it the slow way. Okay, and a quick little side project while we're doing this. In the first module, you're going to need a little pool thing. So the method I used to make this is I just took the hot glue gun and kept melting the foam and putting a little bit of hot glue on until I got it to the depth I wanted. And then I used that hot glue to pull out some foam. Once you get the depth you want, just put some more hot glue back down and let it dry. While that's drying, go ahead and flip all the tiles over. And black paint and Mod Podge that side too. These will be double-sided tiles. Hopefully this painting method isn't too confusing, but once this Mod Podge is dry, you're going to want your tiles in thirds. Then you take 1/3 out. So you're painting 2/3 of it at a time. So here's how they're going to be painted. The ones that are on there now will start with stone. So you do stone, stone. The one that's set to the side is supposed to be dirt. Then you flip them over and do dirt, dirt, grass. Sort of. That's the way they'll be painted in the end. Basically, after you've painted the stone, when you flip them over to paint the grass, you want one bottom side to be stone, the other bottom side to be black, so that when you flip it over again to paint the dirt, you have two black ones up for the dirt. The bottom sides are grass and stone, so they all mix together. It'll make sense as you keep watching. So for the classic dungeon tile stone look, we'll use pavement, pewter, and granite gray. Start with pretty much full coverage of pavement. We're going to use a sponge here because it gives a really cool splotchy look. Wait for that to dry completely. Then go back in with the pewter, about 80% coverage. Then when that's more or less dry, it doesn't have to be completely dry, go back with the granite, and you just want about 50% coverage. It looks a little bit bright, but it does dry darker than when it first goes on, and it's going to be black washed, so better to be too bright than too dark. Once that's all painted and dry, set aside half of the stone tiles, so 1/3 of the tiles total. Add the other 1/3 that you haven't painted yet into this. Flip over the stone tiles that are still down, and we'll paint this 2/3 green. For the green, we're going with English Ivy, I think it's Kelly Green, and Limeade. Same way you did the stone. Start with dark and work your way up. 100%, 80%, 50%. The difference on this one is for the wash, we're going to do a brown wash so it looks like the dirt peeking through the grass. Going with a different kind of sponge on this one. It's got a really wide texture to it, so you get some pretty large gaps in between where the paint's actually sticking down. And then spray it down with brown wash and let everything dry 100%. And now it's time to play 3-card Monty again. Okay, so remove the tiles that are green and stone. Replace those with the ones that are stone and black. Flip over the remaining green tiles and paint this 2/3 brown. First thing I did is sprayed the whole thing in that brown wash. So for the brown paints, I started out by covering everything 100% in nutmeg brown. Then I went in with a lighter brown, this one classic caramel. You could use khaki or mocha or anything in that color range. And use that to add highlights. Probably somewhere around a 50% coverage. What I put down first didn't look right, so I added some more. I also put this down on my puddle tile. And then went back in with some burnt umber around the edges to make it look like it's wet there. And then some nutmeg towards the middle just to try to get the depth look. Some more glue down because it wasn't full enough. And I put some sky blue on top of that glue there and watered it down a little and smeared it around. Just to kind of get a water sort of look to it. And then once that's all dry, just get some black and go over the edges of every single tile. Put down a pretty heavy coating of the Mod Podge gloss on your water there to make it shiny. And here you can see the result of having those 3 tiles split so where you can flip them over and mix the colors for transition zones and stuff. And that's it. Mix and match, make your dungeon however it works for you. You can try to match it to the modules exactly if you want to, but you can kind of mix it around to whatever you think works best. And with that, we have everything we need to play Module 1. And most of the other modules, actually. It's just that initial build that takes forever. There will be more tiles later with mine tracks and all that kind of stuff, but we'll do that when we get to that point in the campaign. The next module is mostly a forest, so we're going to need a whole bunch of trees. We'll cover various ways to do that. But until then, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.